Hello, it is Tuesday, which means it's time, of course, for another in real life video. This week, we are talking about the Fallout TV show, which is due out on April 10th, actually. This is going to sound a bit like an ad, but I'm not sponsored or anything. They haven't paid me anything. I'm just excited for the show. But yeah, April 10th in the evening, at least in the United States. I think it'll be 7 or 8 p.m. PDT, I want to say. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. But sometime in the evening, April 10th. Or if you're in New Zealand, you have the original, I believe, you have the original sort of 411 premiere date. But nonetheless, it's this week, so I figured, hey, I'm super excited for it. This is incredibly relevant to the channel as well. It's been a long time coming. We're going to be talking about it. We've talked about how we're going to talk about it, so now we're here. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, you know that very frequently I love to sort of, if we're playing a narrative-heavy game, or one that just has a compelling narrative or compelling world building or whatever, you should know that by now, if you're a longtime viewer or listener, that I love to come up with sort of a wild, unhinged prediction as to where the story, the narrative, is going to go. So I figured, before the show comes out, why not do exactly that, right? This is not something that I've given too much thought to, but we're just going to sort of touch on, like, the rough story beats and stuff like that, right? We're just going to kind of try and figure out where we want to go from here. So, we know we've got 8 episodes, right? So roughly 8 hours. It may well be that the first episode and the last episode run a little bit longer, but I would just as well guess that, like, there'll be some that run a little bit shorter. And we are, of course, getting all 8 at the same time. We're not doing the sort of weekly release schedule. I don't know if that's, like, normal for Amazon. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of prefer the weekly release schedule, but maybe there's some reason to have it done all at once. Who can say? Who can say? Maybe we'll be able to say by the time we're through with it. Regardless, we've got 8 episodes. We've got, as far as we know, 3 primary characters with seemingly a focus, at least initially, on Lucy, which makes perfect sense because this is sort of our fish out of water character. This is our character who is going to be sort of the window into which people unfamiliar with Fallout will see the world, right? They will come to understand how it works and all of that through Lucy, because she is, well, expectedly, we're expecting that she will not be familiar with how the world works in post-apocalyptic wasteland America, right? This is the understanding. Anyway, I would guess that the first episode in its entirety will be a mixture. Okay. Now, I'll preface this by saying that I've only watched the initial trailer that we did the watch along for. Other than that, I've only ever seen, like, the 10-15 second little commercial ads that sometimes show up, or the various stills. I know they had one out where there was like the thumbnail for it was like Lucy holding a gun or whatever. I did not watch that one, very deliberately so. But I would guess episode 1, if we want to get very granular, which I don't really want to, I don't think I'll be able to nail it that well with not knowing anything. Episode 1 will be 50% pre-war and 50% in the vault. Vault 33, Lucy's vault. If I had to guess. The pre-war parts, we have seen glimpses of it with the ghoul character, Walton Goggins' character, who a lot of people are super excited for, myself included, because the guy does fantastic in roles like this, right? He just chews up the scenery every time he's casted in a role exactly like this. It seems like an incredible and amazing fit. But I would guess, since we see Walton Goggins plenty of times in that trailer and in various little snippet trailers, as a human, and he is eventually the Ghoul, we will probably open with him, maybe in an advertisement or something for, I think, Vault Tech. We've seen stuff like that, where he's sort of advertising and running through the workings of the Vault. I could see it opening with that. And then we sort of cut. There'll be like a transition of the scene between, you know this trope, where it's like, oh, we're making a commercial, we're making a movie, and then the camera pulls back and reveals the cameras being used, the sort of Fallout, Diesel Punk, Atomic Punk looking cameras and all of that. They're being used to film him recording the commercial, because he's some sort of like actor, I want to say. Some sort of like, I want to say like a Western actor, in fact. I'm not sure, though. I don't remember where I even learned that from. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. But regardless, we'll pull out from that, and it'll be about him. He'll sort of have, maybe he'll have a great relationship, because we've seen he's with this little kid at the beginning, running up with a horse along a mountainside or whatever. Obviously, this kid ain't gonna make it. Well, I mean, maybe not. Maybe not so obviously. Maybe the kid does make it. That'd be pretty wild. That would be pretty wild. Okay. Do we want to put bets on whether or not this kid in the trailer survives? I would say if the kid survives, it will seem as if they have not. Right, but they will show up later, and it will not be good. It will not be good whatsoever. You know what? Let's get a little wild. The kid at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of the game, the beginning of the trailer or whatever, of the show that we've seen in the trailer, that kid lives. It is implied look, we're getting real wild. It is implied that kid dies, but that kid is alive. Either ghoulified, maybe turned into a super mutant, something worse. Something is still active and important about that kid. Because this will ultimately become the motivating sort of factor that makes the Ghoul an important character. Because otherwise, if Lucy is sort of our vector into the outside world. And of course, Vault Dwellers always have something special about them, because they're if your protagonist is a Vault Dweller, there's a chance that they know about a Gek. They have access to some sort of technology inside of their vault. They know something like that. Or because of their unirradiated sort of bod, right? That comes into import at some point in the plotline. So we could very well see a way in which Lucy is super duper important. And like I said, just by virtue of her being sort of that window into the storyline and whatnot. Gosh, there's a bit of a gnat going around here. Now, we also know that Maximus, the Brotherhood of Steel character, will very likely be important, because the Brotherhood of Steel has been in so many of the trailers. They seem like a major factor, having some sort of clash with the NCR, right? So, I would guess probably the kid that we see at the beginning is in some way related to the Ghoul, Walton Goggins' character, and is maybe not biologically, but at the very least there is sentimental feeling of guardianship, and a feeling of like, oh, I let this kid down, oh, everything got screwed up. Thus, this sends his character down some sort of depressive episode or whatever. He's become completely disillusioned with the world. He does not care at all. And, it's that old chestnut. It's that old chestnut wherein you have a sort of anti-hero situation. And somehow he gets wrapped up with Lucy and Maximus along the way. I would love it. And in fact, you know what? Let's go out and predict this. I bet the Ghoul and Maximus should not get along, right? But they will. They will eventually get along, and this will be a huge point of contention. I would say, okay, let's back up. So first episode, half pre-war, half in the vault, right? The next episode, we're coming out of the vault. We're seeing some horrible fate befall Kyle MacLachlan. Somehow Lucy ends up with a dog meat, the dog meat. Do we want to have a wild prediction for this? Because I've got one. I've got one if we want one. Weird situation, weird stuff going on inside the vault, right? We've seen already teasers of people having like, oh, this guy's got a weird eyeball. Uh-oh, this person's hand is a little weird. Uh-oh, someone's got some weird mutant stuff going on, you know? We've seen evidence of this. What if... this is so stupid. What if the Overseer, Kyle MacLachlan's character, becomes a dog? What if he becomes the dog? What if he becomes a dog? And that is why there is dog meat in this show. That is why... God, this is so dumb. That is why this dog is important in some way, right? Have we not seen the trailer weirdly focusing on dog meat? Sure, it's a cute dog. It's a fun dog. Who doesn't love a dog? Dogs have never been more popular, right? We love dogs, don't we? But this dog is special because inside of it, it carries the consciousness, the DNA of the Overseer, of Kyle MacLachlan, which gives it this sort of imperative to protect Lucy as best as it is able. But also, it's kind of a dog too, so it's gonna pee, it's gonna poop. God, this is so horrible. I don't know, there's a way you could make that work. That's my wild prediction for that, and why dog meat is so weirdly featured and have seemingly important. So, this goes on. Lucy has dog meat, who may or may not be her Overseer in some weird way. Dog meat is important somehow. Somehow dog meat is important. And if anything, perhaps dog meat has more importance than Lucy. But of course, dog meat is just a dog, right? So Lucy thus has some sort of imperative to venture out, either finding or sort of moving dog meat around in some way. Dog meat is super duper important. Then we encounter, maybe in episode 3, because episode 2, we first leave the vault. Episode 3 will be Lucy sort of going around in the wasteland, really in full form. The second episode, it'll just be a little bit, right? It'll just be a quick little tease of like, oh, look, she's kind of out there. Whoa. This is look, it's Shady Sands, stuff like that. And then the third episode will finally get her to meet this scientist guy, right? We've seen him in trailers. Michael Emerson's character of Benjamin Linus Lost fame. We know that this dude is in here. He is super duper good. I would suspect that he wants dog meat for some reason. He wants dog meat. He wants to know all of dog meat's weird little secrets. He wants to know what was going on with him. Maybe, you know what, there's a world in which he has, like, created dog meat. He's in some way responsible for dog meat, and that's how Lucy finds them, right? Maybe Lucy finds dog meat and Michael Emerson, the scientist guy, together. That's entirely possible as well, right? Highly doubt dog meat comes from... Yeah. Okay, well, let's pretend like Kyle MacLachlan isn't a dog. Maybe dog meat meets Lucy by virtue of the doctor, right? And she's just like, oh, this doctor guy is kind of okay, and he's got this cool dog that's really friendly and nice. I'm gonna hang out with them. Turns out the doctor guy is not okay. Turns out he is like a screwed up dude. He's super like messed up. He's either like, we know that this is beyond Fallout 4. Okay, how about this? I was about to say he couldn't be Enclave, but what if he was former Enclave inducted into the Brotherhood of Steel? This could be like, you know, the Enclave were so horrible and stuff like that, right? Great commentary on sort of what happened in the United States around World War II. where we got a lot of these scientists from, right? Maybe the Brotherhood of Steel did a whole little situation wherein, we've sort of wiped out some of or a lot of the Enclave here at this oil rig on the West Coast. Just as well, they got seemingly the Pridwin, I don't know, coming over from the East Coast, it seems. I don't know. We don't know for sure. But we've got Enclave from, what's it called? Raven Rock? I forget, from Fallout 3. We've got Enclave from there. We've got, of course, at the oil rig and everything on the West Coast. We've got plenty of them, plenty of scientists. They could be like young kids or the descendants of them or something like that, given this sort of time gap. And have it to where this guy, Michael Emerson's character, used to be in the Enclave, but is now working for the Brotherhood of Steel. And it is through him that we make some dark revelation that, people who play the games sort of have come to this conclusion a long time ago. But this is how they'll convey to the television audience, like, this Brotherhood of Steel, who seem like they're out here to help people, maybe they're kind of screwed up, right? Maybe they're a little screwed up. And then Maximus comes into the fold. And he's like, no, we're not screwed up at all. And then they have more scenes wherein they're adventuring together. Maximus and Lucy, they're adventuring. They eventually, they're like out there, they're fighting that weird axolotl gecko or whatever creature. They fight that. Right, why not? His power armor gets so screwed up by a Yao Guai. We've seen that in a commercial or whatever, in a trailer. So he has to get out of the power armor. Lucy has to help him out of it. And then, they kind of fall in love. Are they falling in love? My God, are they in love? Could it be? Has love bloomed in the wasteland? It might be. But then, they encounter the three of them. Scientist guy, Brotherhood of Steel guy, well, Dogmeat as well, and Lucy, right? Brotherhood of Steel guy, Maximus is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I found the guy I'm here to look for, this scientist. As well as maybe we should have this Vault Dweller come as well, because I kind of like her, right? Maybe we should have her along, and we could find out more about Vault 33, right? Because, Brotherhood of Steel, they want all the stuff in there, if possible. Anyway, then they come to, they're on their way to sort of rendezvous with the Brotherhood somewhere, right? Some sort of attack happened. Some sort of shootout happened where they don't have a vertibird. He's without power armor. He's by himself. He doesn't have like the rest of his crew. He's like this nascent newbie Brotherhood of Steel member. They come across this town where the ghoul is. And of course, the ghoul knows, having been around, Brotherhood of Steel don't play, man. The Brotherhood of Steel are not into you if you are a ghoul. They're super not into it. So there's sparks fly. Lucy somehow is able to make them chill out. Maybe they chill out in some way on their own accord, but they realize, man, maybe we need to come together because this is a bit of a weird situation, right? Somehow they get brought together, right? It's an uneasy sort of friendship between the two of them, and Lucy is effectively the glue holding them together. Not unlike what happens with your own follower companion situation in the games, right? It's an uneasy sort of alliance held together by the protagonist. So, they have this MacGuffin or whatever. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's dog meat. I don't know. Maybe it is dog meat. What a great excuse to have dog meat in the show a lot, is if dog meat is in some way the MacGuffin that they have to get from point A to point B. But it is at this point, somewhere in like, I don't know, episode 5 or 6, that Maximus starts turning on the Brotherhood. We start to realize Maximus is like, man, maybe the Brotherhood does suck. Maybe there's another way to do this, right? Maybe I got like sort of indoctrinated in the same way as the scientist guy was indoctrinated into the Enclave and stuff like that. Maybe I need to chill out with the Brotherhood stuff. But I'm not sure. He's having like a crisis of faith. He doesn't really commit one way or the other until perhaps the final episode where there's like a pivotal moment and he has to save, he'll have to save the ghoul. The great irony of it all will be in like the last episode or the second to last episode, he saves the ghoul and is officially like exiled and outcast from the Brotherhood, because why would you save this muty freak, right? He saves him. He saves him in some way. I don't know why, right? But he saves him. This will definitely happen. 100% guaranteed. But before that, we have to learn some more of the history, right? The ghoul goes into storytime mode. Of course, he's like this showman. He's this great actor from pre-war times. He's able to deliver some sort of amazing reimagining of sort of the NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel butting heads. We've seen this in the trailer, them butting heads. But I don't think that will be like a contemporary scene. I bet. Here's wild prediction. That is some sort of flashback, right? That is some sort of story being told, right? The way in which it is shot with weird moments of slow motion, that's gotta be like flashback territory, right? So we're getting more information on all of this. Meanwhile, in present day, there's less plot important things going on. They're like running around. Uh-oh, there's a super mutant out here. Whoa, we better fight it. There's weird mutated creatures. There's some FEV creatures and stuff out here still. Weird robots. Uh-oh, what's this? Robco. Oh my gosh. Weird stuff like that, will be going on all around town. Then we need to have something kind of dark happen in the middle, right? Something bad needs to happen to somebody, right? Who will it be? Who will it be? Maybe it'll be Lucy, right? Maybe something rough will happen to Lucy. And that'll have maybe the ghoul and Maximus sort of come together in some weird way, right? Because you need that sort of dark middle part where something rough happens to somebody. And it's like, man, are they going to make it? Are they going to be in season 2? Which, by the way, there's already rumblings that there will be a season 2. Sort of funding has been allocated if they decide to take them up on it. But there will be some sort of weird dark moment in the middle where the status of one of our 3 primary characters is put into question. I'm not sure who it will be, but whoever it is will in some way bring the group together. I don't know, maybe it'll be Dogmeat. I don't know. Maybe Dogmeat will be super important and that'll be how everyone gets brought together, right? Who can say? So we have that happen. More truths are revealed. This brings them a lot closer together. And then toward the end, right, we have this big confrontation with the Brotherhood of Steel. This is sort of like the inflection point of the entire season, the big action moment, the big narrative moment, wherein Lucy realizes, oh my gosh, the Brotherhood of Steel is so horrible, actually. I've come to like this ghoul guy, and they're so terrible to him, and as well, they want my weird sort of sci-fi MacGuffin that for whatever reason I've been hauling across. They want to screw up the vault that I'm from, though it's probably already screwed up, right? But I bet they would want, they would still want to know, right? They would still want to know. Like, we've seen there's some sort of weird genetic manipulation situation going on. I bet they would be into that, right? They would want to know about that. But, do we think there'll be an atomic bomb involved? I don't think so. I think you save that for later seasons if you even get to that. The only way in which it's involved would be in like the opening, right? When we're sort of setting the stage for the wasteland. Like I said, I suspect a lot of episode 1 and 2 will be sort of like set dressing, and we'll still have to have some of that later on because, you know, the television audience isn't going to know, right? You can't just set it up as if, all of the minutia and sort of like, not even just like goofy stuff like, oh, this is a world where Mirelurks exist, right? Rad roaches are real, right? Not just silly stuff like that. Or like, haha, Nuka-Cola, little Vault Boy or whatever, right? Not just stuff like that, but stuff like the real shit where it's like, oh, the Brotherhood of Steel has this sort of fascist behavior toward anything that isn't human, right? Hate super mutants, hate ghouls, got to get all that technology, and for better or worse, they're out here sort of stomping around and stuff like that. We still have to establish all of that sort of stuff with the NCR. All that still needs to get established in some way. And I think a lot of the early goings on will be establishing it. And like I said, throughout, we'll still have to keep establishing it for sort of the inexperienced television viewing audience. But yeah, I don't think we end with any of the three main characters being killed off, right? I don't think Lucy, I don't think the Ghoul, nor Maximus die by the end of this. Like I said, I think there will be at least one harrowing experience where one of them will come close to it. It will be very scary, and they'll be like some sort of big sort of, I don't know, like come to Jesus moment wherein they learn something about one another. It sort of adds cohesion to their group. But otherwise, I think all three of them will make it in some way to the third season. Whether or not they are still friends by the end of it, I don't know. Right? Which, I don't know, maybe they never become friends. That's entirely possible as well. But certainly, I think other big major character actors in this will not be around, right? There's no shot Kyle MacLachlan makes it. There's no shot Michael Emerson makes it. These folks are toast, right? They're absolute, they're goners. There's no way they're going to show up and survive throughout the entirety of this. I think maybe there is, do we think it will be about, I'm curious as to what we could lurk on or sort of think about and ponder on for the sort of main theme of the show, right? Obviously, war never changes, the horrors of war and stuff like that. That's a big one. That's entirely possible. I'm curious how much they lean into sort of the like anti-corporate sort of bent of Fallout as well. Stuff with Vault-Tec. You could do stuff with, any of the companies and stuff in the game, right? You could do Robco, you could do Vault-Tec, General Atomics, stuff like that could be entirely possible. Though, I don't know. We haven't seen too much of that. It's mostly just been Vault-Tec stuff. That said, maybe they're playing their cards close to their chest, in which case I'm super duper into that. Best case scenario, I guess, is in that there is some big, huge reveal in the middle of this that we just do not know about, right? One of the things that I think would be very fascinating, well, you know what? Okay, let's put it this way. We're definitely going to have some sort of huge conflict coming up with the Brotherhood of Steel, right? There's going to be a big issue with that. But of course, our three main characters aren't going to be able to contend with an entire army, right? Because this time around, this is like the big difference between the game or the games and the show. The show can so much more easily display grand conflict, whereas in the games, you always just are limited to like, okay, you're supposed to read this as like, this is either some sort of like expert group going in here and doing like a surgical strike, a la the storming of the Institute in Fallout 4, something like that. But even at the like Battle of Hoover Dam Round 2 at the end of New Vegas, you don't have just like a ton of stuff popping off, right? Because you are limited by like, how many character models you can have running around and animating and stuff before the game starts really getting ready to croak, This is, at long last, sort of an opportunity to display sort of a bigger point of contention as far as like, I don't know, a war between these two groups, I feel like with the war never changes sort of thesis at the center of everything, it may well be that the main point of it is this sort of conflict between the NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel, right? It's just a matter of what is the MacGuffin, what is the important scientific whatever. How is Michael Emerson's scientist character involved? Why is Dogmeat so relevant? Right? Because if anything, if Dogmeat is not relevant in some way, why even have them? I mean, they're very cute and stuff, but narratively speaking, I feel like if you should make Dogmeat important in some way, right? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm reading into the Dogmeat situation too much. Entirely possible. Anyway, I feel like maybe that's my big summation of what's going to happen, right? Which, a lot of weird stuff. Anything's possible. I do hope things that I don't want to see. I kind of hope we don't do Liberty Prime. I kind of don't want to do Liberty Prime, right? Keep that. If Liberty Prime is still around, keep it on the East Coast, right? I mean, there's a way in which you could pull off Liberty Prime and have it be really cool. But I feel like it's so much cooler to see one of the Zeppelins or whatever, and just a ton of power armored dudes coming out or whatever. That's cool. Vertibirds and stuff. I feel like Liberty Prime is a bit overkill and maybe a bit too goofy. I don't know. Maybe there's a way in which you can make it work. But I feel like I would veer clear of that. Right? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, that's like I said, my sort of rough thoughts on where the show is going to go, how it's going to end up, and we'll of course do a sort of after the fact, we'll do a video about this wherein we talk about what actually happened, right? Rather than these weird sorts of predictions going on very little. In fact, here's a question. If you like, would you prefer sort of a situation where now we know every episode of the show is coming out at once, right? Would you prefer, for in real life videos, would you prefer it to where sort of we do like a recap and, rough analysis of 2 episodes at a time, or we just wait and watch the entire thing and just do a longer situation at the end, I sort of prefer doing a video for every 2 episodes because I do kind of like the more, staggered release, similar to like television where it's like, an episode comes out per week. Granted, you run into the issue wherein the entirety of the show is available at once. So if you're watching it, there's a good chance, like, why would you stop at episode 2 and then want to say, like, okay, let's think about where we're going? Why would you need to? You just watch the next episode, right? Which leads me to think that perhaps for this, as much as I would love to, we just watch the entire thing. And then at the end, we kind of come together and think about and talk about what we liked and didn't like. Sort of recap it, sort of think about where it's going to go, stuff like that, right? Either way, hey, Fallout TV show is upon us. I still think it's looking pretty promising. Early rumblings have been positive as well, I think. We don't yet know anything concrete. We may learn later today. Early, like, film and television critics may have their hands on it and give their sort of positions on it as well. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's Jonathan Nolan. Like I said before in our watch along, I think there's a good chance that it is super duper good. In recent memory, first season of Westworld was absolutely incredible. Fantastic stuff. Weird as well that Jonathan Nolan is doing something kind of focused on nuclear war, on like atomic bombs, when his brother, right? Christopher Nolan, just last year, Oppenheimer, right? Very, very weird coincidence, or entirely planned, right? Could you Could you imagine if it was a coincidence? Like, how do they tell each other, like, what's going on? Do you think they talk? Like, how weird is that for them, right? That they both kind of worked on this thing that's somewhat related to one another without their own knowing? I don't know. I would have to assume that they knew, right? Because how absurdly weird would it be if they didn't? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Looking forward to the show. That's basically my rough thoughts on how it'll go. Definitely, expect the usual, sort of a dark middle chapter where everybody gets brought together. Something at the end. No shot by the end of this. Maximus is entirely confident in the Brotherhood of Steel. The question is, how do they want to have it set up? Do they want Maximus to sort of toe the line and continue down that route, or eventually sort of break off? I think it's way more interesting if Maximus ends up becoming disillusioned with the Brotherhood of Steel and leaving. The Ghoul, of course, will be, I don't know, in some way more important than it seems, right? The fact that they are so old and have ties to other stuff by virtue of just being so damn old is incredibly important and could be like integral to a certain part of the plot. Lucy, I wonder how they will handle, right? I'm curious how, because after you get done with the first season, how imperative, like, the first season needs to develop Lucy into being like a super interesting character. Because for season 1, it works, wherein you've got the fish out of water situation where you're like a window into which people unfamiliar with the franchise, with Fallout, come to learn of it through her, right? Here's something that would be cool, right? Here's a fun extra little prediction, right? What if throughout all of this, Lucy is like our sort of player character, right? Not too far removed. We always start as a vault dweller except for once, and that was a pretty cool time too, right? But what if, at least in the big games, right? Obviously, Brotherhood of Steel Tactics and whatnot, not so much. But, sorry. What if Lucy eventually becomes evil, right? What if that's the arc of this in its entirety, is that this is sort of the downfall of Lucy? What if Lucy starts out as this like naive, like, oh no, what's rad roaches? What? Oh, I gotta shoot people with lasers? Oh no, the world sure is messed up. What if it messes her up, right? What if she becomes screwed up in the process? What if that's the entire arc of the show, is her becoming kind of screwed up in and of herself, right? We'll see vague hints of it in the first season, maybe, right? And then, depending on how many seasons they have charted out or that it gets, we start to see that continue to develop, thinking like bigger picture here as far as the entire series is concerned. I would be super into that, but also at the same time, I have to wonder if we're not flying too close to the sun as far as Jonathan Nolan's last television project, or at least big one, went, Westworld, right? Without spoiling too much. That I feel like that maybe is too similar a plot beat to where he may not want to do that again, right? That would be understandable for me. I don't know. We've been rambling on for so long. But, I don't know, I love doing it. I can't wait for the show. I'm super excited. Like I said, depending on what folks say, we could do like a recap and sort of analysis after every 2 episodes. But unless there's like an overwhelming majority of people who want that, we'll probably just do it to where, because all the episodes are out at once, watch the whole thing. And then we do a big talk video, big in real life video at the end of it. Right? That's it for the Fallout TV show predictions. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for it. I'm very much in the mood for Fallout. We'll see. Until next time, please take care of each other.